Hello everyone, welcome back to 9-Inch Charge. Well, I played a couple of games last weekend and I came across a really interesting situation. We had a face-off between a dragon and Linehammer, and I just thought it would be interesting to share how that went, talk about the units involved and what I think it means for the game in general, and most importantly, who was victorious. Is Dragonhammer more powerful than Linehammer? Okay, so the scenario was I was playing with my Wood Elves, Tom was playing with High Elves, and Tom's dragon came barreling down the board, and I managed to get myself into a situation where I could maneuver the rest of my units out of the way so that the only clear charge it had was against my Wildwood Rangers. Wildwood Rangers, for those of you who aren't familiar with them, are an elite Wood Elf unit. They're a special choice. They have some really good stats. Their weapon skill 5, their initiative 4, which is higher than the dragon, although not when it charges. Their leadership 9, 1 attack, strength 3, although they carry the ranger's glaive, which is strength plus 2, AP 2. So they're strength 5. But if they fight something that causes fear or terror, they gain +1 attacks and multiple wounds 2 on their weapons. So I felt like this was a pretty good matchup for me. This unit is tailor-made for taking on monsters. And once I'd orchestrated the situation where that was the only charge the dragon was going to get, I fanned them out into Linehammer formation and gave them a frontage of 14. The High Elf Prince had a lance, and he was wearing the armour of Calidor, which is full plate armour, which also gives you a 5+ ward save. He had a shield, and the Seed of Rebirth for 5+ regen. So he had a 3+ armour save, then a 5+ ward save, and after that, a 5+ regen. So that was the matchup, and then the dragon charged into the Wildwood Rangers, and my thinking at that time was, the Wildwood Rangers have a naturally higher initiative than the dragon, so if they are able to charge the dragon or fight it in a turn in which it didn't charge, they would actually go ahead of them. They can never go ahead of the High Elf Prince because he has strikes first. So I issued a challenge, and the hope was that I would give ground and then the dragon would follow up, or I would fall back in good order and the dragon would roll really low for his pursuit, and then I'd be able to charge next turn. So I issued a challenge, and the dragon caused 11 wounds against my Wildwood Ranger champion. He did suffer from not being able to take an armor save against any of the attacks, and then the unit gave ground. And knowing that otherwise he would just be charged in my turn, he decided to pursue and caught the unit. So we were locked in another round of combat, but with the dragon having counted as charged. In the next turn, the dragon performed similarly, so I think I had 13 in the front rank at that time, and in response, I would have had 2 Wildwood Rangers still remaining in base-to-base contact to strike back. And I caused 2 wounds, and I felt incredibly lucky to even have caused those. So for my elite monster hunting unit, it wasn't a great success. I didn't get the charge, so let's math hammer out if I had gotten the charge with my frontage of 14 against the dragon and see what could have happened. Now, the first thing that would have happened is, even though I got the charge, the prince would have struck first because he has strikes first. He wouldn't have used his lance because he hadn't charged. He would have hit me on 3s, wounded on 3s, and I'd have had a 6+ save. So with his 4 attacks, on average, he'd have caused 1 to 2 wounds. It's just under 1.5, so let's say he caused 1 wound. So I can strike back now with 13 Wildwood Rangers. If I have 4 in base contact, that means there's 8 attacks there, and everyone else has 1 attack because they're in the fighting rank but not in base-to-base contact. So that's 13 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s, AP 2, multiple wounds 2. So on average, I would cause 4 wounds, or 4 1/3 wounds, and then I'd reduce his armor save from 3+ to 5+, and then he has a 5+ ward and a 5+ regen. And with all that said and done, and with my multiple wounds applied, I would on average do 2.5 wounds to the dragon. The dragon was a star dragon, so he has 9 wounds, so it barely scratches the sides, to be honest, before he turns around and eats my unit. My unit of 16 Wildwood Rangers with shields and a champion cost 246 points. And the Star Dragon is an upgrade to a prince that costs 290. So suffice to say, there was nothing in my list that could actually take on the dragon. The dragon then went on to decimate half a unit of Eternal Guard with his breath and then charge and kill my tree man. So ultimately, I did win the game because I had destroyed everything else in Tom's army except for a bolt thrower. So it does go to show that you can win games against your opponent if they have a dragon, if you concentrate on everything else and you are successful in tying the dragon up. However, they are really difficult to deal with. And it's actually quite frustrating when you take a unit that is so, say, tailor-made at attacking monsters and it basically fails to do anything to it. But yes, in the scenario that we played, Dragonhammer is definitely more successful than Linehammer. As for how we can counter Dragonhammer, the community is coming up with a few ideas here and there. Obviously, one idea is to have your own dragon and tie them up into some kind of stalemate, or at least be able to wreak as much havoc as your opponent can. Another option is to take something that has Monster Slayer, so the Dragon Slaying Sword, but you will need to roll a 6 to wound, and your opponent will still get their ward save. Tom and I were working on a build of a High Elf Mage on Dragon that is a Mage of Illusion and can pick their spells and chooses the Spectral Doppelganger spell and then has the Dragon Slaying Sword. So then when you're rolling your 2d6 hits, if you get the spell, you're fishing for those 6s to wound, and then hopefully you can slay the dragon. Ultimately, these are still quite chancy, and if you don't have access to your own dragon, it can be quite difficult, I think. Another thing I tried was a Glade Lord with Potion of Strength and the Bow of Lorraine, which basically means he can shoot 4 times with the Potion of Strength, which made him Strength 7. He had Arcane Bodkins, which are Armor Piercing 2 arrows. And with 4 shots, he didn't cause a wound on the dragon because the dragon got them all on his save and ward save, so that didn't really work either. But if you're thinking of any ways on how to defeat the dragon, please let me know in the comments. I suppose the upside is at least you can win a game against someone who takes the dragon. It is possible if you focus elsewhere and try and tie the dragon up, especially if you're quite maneuverable, because now dragons are close order. It's not like in 8th edition where you can just turn and face wherever you want. They have to use their movement to pivot, and when they land, so you can maneuver around. If you are a maneuverable army, you can move away. This isn't always going to be possible, and certainly in the later game when I was tied up in my own combats, I wasn't able to move out the way, and then the dragon really capitalized on getting involved in things like that. But I just thought I'd let you know this interesting situation that emerged in a game I had. We are talking about how we can record our games, but we want to be able to release something that is, that is good quality and that we're happy with. So we've had a bit of discussion about how we can do that, because there are some brilliant battle reports out there for you guys to watch. And we don't want to produce something that, is of a poorer quality, I suppose. But we do think we've cracked it, so hopefully in a month or two, something like that, we should have at least one battle report up on the channel. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a comment about your experience if you've been playing with dragons or you've got any ideas about how to fight dragons. Really be interested to hear your thoughts. Please like if you've enjoyed it and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will catch you next time.